Now it's on. Good morning. Welcome to 1 Million Cups. How are you guys doing today? All right. Good deal. Welcome. How many of you have never been here before? Holy moly. I think that might be a new record for us. Thank you. Hope you enjoy it. Please come back, bring friends. We work hard to put a decent program together, but without all of you, you're bringing the energy and you're bringing the contacts and all of the support for our speakers. So thank you so much for being here. Couple of housekeeping items. 1MCND app. If you don't have it, download it, check in. It's a way for us to kind of keep track of what we're getting for attendance and staying in touch with you. There's also a coffee cup up on the counter there by the coffee for a business card. If you want to drop a card in there, if you're not getting our emails, we promise not to sell your email address or send a ton of stuff to you. We just keep you updated on what we're doing here. Next up, sponsors. Thank our sponsors if you see them. They help us keep the lights on. We operate on a pretty tight budget, but we still have to pay rent and we still have to buy coffee and all of that kind of stuff. So thank them if you get a chance. So especially with all the new people, this is actually more appropriate than usual. So what is 1 Million Cups? This is a free weekly program where we put an entrepreneur or a community builder up on this stage and listen to their story and see what they're doing and hear about their ups and their downs and their sidewayses and all of that. And then we do a Q&A period where we get a chance to talk, ask questions, and there's a lot of meeting that happens afterwards, a lot of business cards changing hands, a lot of contacts changing hands, and it's all just to support these folks and try to make our community better and stronger. For the question and answer period afterwards, if you're feeling a little bit shy, we got Tyler on social media today, so you can ask questions via hashtag 1MCND. And we'd prefer you grab the mic and ask the question yourself, but that's okay. With that, I think, do we have any community announcements this morning? I think I'll start with one. If you remember our MC last week, Peter, who was a little discombobulated because he was moments he thought maybe from becoming a dad, and he had talked about in fact, he became a dad yesterday, Michael. So Peter, here's to you. He was going to kind of intro a job board that we're going to start doing once a month where local businesses that are hiring get an opportunity to come up and talk about what they're looking for. So we will push that back a week when Peter is hopefully, kind of on stable ground again, and we'll go from there. All right.
I gave this announcement last week, but I'm doing it one more, seeing all those hands. I'm with Cinema 100. We're a film society here in Bismarck, and we have a grant application open, closes Friday, for filmmakers, and currently no applications. So I really think you have a good shot if you were to put an application in. They are due noon on Friday. You can go to cinema100.com to find the application requirements. It's a $1,500 grant award that we will announce and give away at the Dakota Film Festival. So you can also find Cinema 100 Film Society on Facebook to link to, we have a very small little audience or anything, but we do have money, and it's for anything original. It's a wide open opportunity.
Thank you. Actually, Peter's son name is William. I think Michael's his middle name. So, sorry, Peter. Okay, so I think before we get started, I want to do one more shout out. Is Ashton here? For those of you that don't know, Ashton Hoff did Make Well Leap last weekend, and for all of you that were there, you know what a special event she always puts on, and I just want to do a shout out for her, what she's doing for this community with those events. So the next time she comes up and gives a community announcement about a Make Well event, I'd strongly encourage you to put that in your calendar and just go. If you're a maker, if you're an entrepreneur, if you just like networking with people, it's an awesome group of people. So keep that in mind. wearemakewell.com, I think, is her website. So, okay, with that, before I introduce the speaker to the stage, I want to kind of talk about a little bit of a personal connection and some things that I've been able to enjoy as a direct result of the work that she's doing. This is a photo I took last summer up at Frostfire Mountain in the Pembina Gorge region, up in the northeast part of the state. So hopefully you can get a sense of the scale and the grandeur, and for anyone that hasn't been in this part of the state, you wouldn't even imagine that that exists here. I mean, these are oak trees, and that's a super deep valley, and over on the other side of the valley, kind of behind the chairlift riblet, there's a clubhouse for a golf course. There's kayaking, there's summer theater, there's all kinds of stuff. But anyway, I took this picture, just a nice, quiet, peaceful, we had birds singing and other wildlife, and then about 30 seconds later, shot this. So instead of a random act of art today, I thought I would do a random act of science fiction and just beam us here. So grab your handlebars and join me for this little trip. Professionally designed and built course, one of multiple trails. Spot you have to pedal right there. It's every bit as fun as it looks, I'll tell you what. And then you go back up and do it again. So again, a person that I owe a lot to in the work that she's done to make all of this possible and also create a vision that's much grander than what we even have up there right now, Kristi Wilfarht.
Hey everybody, are we able to play that first little video next?
Welcome to Frostfire!
Show us this. By the way, our logo was done by Odney here. They donated that, and she thinks it's the best logo ever. So thanks to Odney, and thanks to the guys who did the cool video. Do you remember their names? I'll have to put that out there. But anyway, thanks for coming today to hear a little bit about Frostfire. We're really excited about. Oops, do I have the power to put the slideshow on? Okay, there we go. about this project. And it really is, let me find my place. Sorry about that. Oops, backwards. Okay. So when I was thinking about how do I tell the best story with this story that has so many stories in it, and I think there's my story on how I got involved. There's the story of Dick and Judith Johnson, who were the founders of it. There's the story of the gathering of the board and building the partnerships and understanding what was happening to Frostfire and what could we do with Frostfire. And then there's the story of the business and setting up all of the business units in there, which Evan can talk about too, is really complex. And then there was the capital campaign or the strategic funding. And so there's all of these stories. And of course, there's always another one if you have your own story, related to it. So I'm going to start with Dick and Judith. And there was actually skiing in the 1950s. And Bill Claremont, who's a gentleman from town here, he was born by Walhalla. And in the 50s, they put together a group and they did a ski hill at that point. And it never stuck, but it was still kind of the same place. And Dick and Judith fell in love, and they were both a couple of teachers from Grand Forks and kind of knowledgeable of the area. And they decided that Judith tells me the story that Dick took her out to the Pembina Gorge and showed her the hill and said, I really have this dream and I just want to make the skiing available to the region. And she got right on board. And she actually, as they went down the road and through the years, they had built a lodge, and then they built onto the lodge and eventually built an amphitheater and started a summer theater program in 1984. So we're going into the 36th year. We haven't skipped a beat on that one. We skipped a beat with the ski area, but it really was, I think, a really great journey. Judith said to me, that her wishes were to really see the Pembina Gorge develop in an organized manner where it had a lot more culture and arts and things to do, and retail came up around it. But it really wasn't something that could happen with a single family. They gave everything they had to make this happen. And so she and Dick had talked. Dick had passed away March of 2016. And on the hill, actually, he had a heart attack and left Judith kind of in a real hard spot. So she was in her mid to late 70s, and they had just made some capital purchase the few years prior, so there was a lot of, they were just kind of starting to dig out of that and would been able to sink more profit back into their pockets or to the business, but it became very complicated very quickly. So in the same time, North Dakota Parks and Rec had done a master plan, and it was the Pembina Gorge State Recreation Area Master Plan. Sorry, I'll get this right here. Hello. Oops. Okay. Am I the wrong way? Oh, there I'm pointing, like you said. Am I just backwards? Okay, now I got it. Okay, so they had done a master plan. There was some state funding that was made possible by Representative David Munson from up in the area and some others, and the master plan was completed, and with about 250 people weighing in about what could we do with this gorge. So as you can see, there's acres and acres of forest, really, and wildlife, and just a ton of possibilities with a whole lot of things to do. And then the master plan also outlines a bunch of campgrounds and their objectives and priorities, and you can actually find that online if you just Google the Pembina Gorge State Recreation Area Master Plan, North Dakota Parks and Rec, and it's just quite a bit of detail about this opportunity and what could be done out there. So that work was going on, and with the passing of Dick and Judith just really wanting to just keep going and get the theater going, and what do we do? Parks and Rec started a partnership with Frostfire, and they actually moved their office into the Frostfire building. So Don Mant, who is a co-founder to the project, was working on this through the Red River Regional Council. And I wasn't involved at that time with what was happening, but Don had started working, I think in 2014, with Dick and Judith to try to figure out what I would call a discharge plan, because I was a social worker in the healthcare setting. So I always think about, what do we do when we're trying to put something behind, hand it off, or make things better for the people or the next generation? So Don was working on that plan and had a couple other people too that were the president of Choice Financial Bank and Senator Tom Campbell we're working on how do we get, can we get funding? What do we do? What do we do with Frostfire? We have to save it. It's been here forever. People are coming to rely on it as part of the identity of the region. Young people, it really mattered for offering something to do for them, and of course, talent retention and economic development. So all that was happening, and backing up a little bit to 2014 for me, how I got involved. Well, actually, I grew up in Grafton, so I grew up skiing with a church youth group, and one of my I had a dream the first night before I went skiing. I really couldn't sleep, and I had this anxiety, terrible anxiety. I was going to fall off the chairlift. Well, that was a foreshadowing for sure. But so anyway, so that was happening, and I had a friend and a mentor by the name of Jim Holdman, and he had worked with me on another project in Grand Forks, and became a really good friend and a mentor, and just loved the community. He was a big pusher of philanthropy and building projects that really mattered to communities. So he had called me up on like April 4th, 2014, and I still have his voicemail. And he said, "Kristi, I'm in Altru, and I have pancreatic cancer, and it's not good, but I'm feeling really good. So I just want to get a hold of you because I want to talk to you about a couple of things, and I want you to connect with Mike Jacobs." So I go up to the hospital and I see him, and we had a great conversation about, end-of-life stuff. And I said, "Is there anything that you didn't get done that you wanted to do?" And he said, Frostfire. Frostfire really needs to be in a foundation or some sort of nonprofit. He said, "Will you do it?" I said, "Oh, gee, sure, I suppose, whatever." He died April 16th, a couple weeks later. And so Mike Jacobs and we got a couple of people together, started having a conversation with the Crarys from Grand Forks, and Crarys had both grown up in Walhalla. And so we started looking at the opportunity out there. It was just huge, and we thought, there's really no amenities, hospitality to support it, so there's certainly a lot to do, but what do you even do? So that kind of snoozed for a while in my life. And 2 years then forward, 2016, I met Dawn Mant on a project that we were working on, and she told me she was involved with Frostfire. So what happened then was, I'm gonna get this right, figure this out. So what happened then was we had all of these questions. What are we gonna do? So Tom Campbell and Brian Johnson and Don got on a phone call with me, and I worked at the Community Foundation at that point in Grand Forks, and they called and said, "We're going to go to the state of North Dakota and ask them to buy it. What if they say no? What do we do?" I said, "Well, I don't know. I guess we look at seeing if we can get people together and establish a foundation, see if we can raise some money, see what the feasibility is." So these questions just started flowing through us. How do we organize to minimize liability risk? We're still working on that. I mean, this is so complex. It's like 7 businesses in one, and we're trying to figure out that piece, yet alone the foundation. And I set it up like a community foundation because there was really no philanthropic entity out there that would manage like donor advised funds. And so we thought if we start making money off this thing, we can actually make grants back into the region to support quality of life projects. So we're still trying to figure out how do we, how do we make sure that we're really minimizing the risk, because obviously we've got a couple of things out there that are high risk. Then we need to find out, well, what's the condition of the buildings and equipment? So we hired AE2S. We asked a question, can it sustain itself? And we got to work doing a business plan, and Don from Red River Regional Council was instrumental in pulling all of those things together. We hired an appraiser. How much is it worth? That was really tricky. It made it even more trickier. And then, of course, was fundraising feasible? And yeah, I thought it was a worthy project, but it would be challenging. Can we cash flow the pledges? Nope. We found that out a little bit later that, we couldn't get a loan because we didn't have any history, even though there was, 40 years of history on there. Well, then will run it? We all looked at each other, not me, so none of us really have the ability to run a ski resort. So, and then, of course, we had the theater, which was coming around the corner again. So we ended up getting putting in a purchase option so we could buy ourselves some time on the building. We set up the 501c3, or we incorporated with the state of North Dakota with the Pembina Gorge Foundation, and we gathered some people. This was the original group, and Mike Dury's on the left, so he was North Dakota Parks and Rec. He's now moved to Icelandic, but is still really involved in this area. And you can read the list yourself, but really Mike Jacobs said it when we were sitting around the table, I don't know what it was, April of 2017. We just hold hands and we jump. So I think maybe it's March, we figured out what would be the purchase price, figured out what we thought we would need for equipment investment, and we figured out we'd do an endowment, because of course we want a scholarship people so everybody could participate. So that's what we did. We jumped and built the team. We've had a couple of new board members join us along the way, and a couple have left us along the way, but Evan is one of the board members that has come on. So anyway, we incorporated in January 2017 with a mission of to preserve and enhance the experience of the Pembina Gorge while connecting people to positive, life-changing experience. And our mission becomes much broader. I mean, we both Don and I, we said, how do we figure this out? Let's look at Medora model, because we really believe that this is scalable to what Medora has in a whole different way. So we would be great complementary bookends to the state of North Dakota. But we wanted to go further and make sure we would develop and support the history, the culture, the natural environment and the human history out there. It's close to the birthplace of North Dakota. There's just so much history, Scandinavian, and so many things that matter. And so as I got further along this project, I realized my grandparents were from up north, and just that land, and I felt like such a disconnect from generations past to generations now. I feel like I'm a sandwich generation with my kids and my parents, and I thought, how do I share some of these stories that mattered to me as a kid that I got from my grandparents, and how do we do that? Can we make a vehicle for that? So that was the thinking behind that. So you can see a couple of the activities are there. You got the lodge over there, and you've got, that's OHV trails, and we've got the theater, and we've got a ski lesson, because we opened this year for that. So I just want to tell you a little bit about, so what's to do in the Gorge anyway? So why do we go forward with this? Well, because there was a master plan, and the parks had already started working on the 22-mile trail system, and it's a multi-use trail, so horseback riders or OHV or hikers or whatever. The Downhill Mountain Bike Terrain Park, we had received a grant for the first phase, and North Dakota Parks and Rec was real involved in helping to get that set up and going. It's only whitewater rafting in the state of North Dakota. It's a really small window of time, but it sure is fun. So you should go. Golfing, there's the 9-hole golf course that's just right across the gorge, and we even talked about eventually would that entity, which is really owned by its members, come underneath the foundation as well. And of course, there's a ton of hunting and deer. There's 12,500 acres of forested. I think it's the largest uninterrupted forest area in the state of North Dakota. It's just beautiful. The North Dakota Parks and Recs works with paleontologists, and they have a fossil dig every year. In 2 hours, people come from Italy, they come from New York. You've got physicians, you've got janitors, you've got everybody out there together with their kids and digging for mosasaurs that are in there. So there's birding, it's a central flyway. We've got the theater that's been long-standing, and because of Dave Pockert, our summer theater manager, that was turnkey for us, and that actually helped us carry through the few years when we haven't had skiing. And then we have the lodge out there, which we've dedicated in honor of Margie and Lyle, donors who helped us get things going here. And the food and beverage, we started the Howitt Hangar, which is the grill and bar. So we had all of these different units that we were looking at in addition to fundraising. So this master plan was out, and I really didn't even know about it, to be honest with you. It was a year into the project, and I was in Arizona traveling to go see a donor out there, and I thumbed through that, and I opened it up, and I'm like, oh, the red blob. It all came together for me. This was the vision, So we'd joke around, Don and I would, about the red blob. That's really the vision. That's the visitor opportunity area, and you can't really see it, but you've got, so Frost Fire's down over here. You've got the country club across there, 2 miles north. You're going to have a campground, Parks and Rec, about 130 acres. And then we've got the river access over there and the entrance into the trails. And so what was missing really is that hospitality piece and money. So we at the same time, there's another entrance point, but this girl comes knocking, and she kept calling me, and I'm like, I don't have time. I mean, I'm trying to do everything and, keep things going and raise money. I didn't sign up to raise money. I mean, I only signed up to raise money. I didn't sign up to be the interim director, but there was no one else to do it. So I just did it because, whatever. That's what you do, right? So we have the trails and the campgrounds and the kayaks from North Dakota Parks and Rec, and they're working on campground, getting that going this year with some engineering. We've got Frass Fire Park on Prairie Mountain, which you'll see more about that later in the next couple of months. And really that is the hub for gathering and activities, a lot of recreation, some education, and hospitality. Kano is a program, that's the gal that came knocking to my door, and she just said, gosh, Kristi, this is the perfect spot to have this model, which is like North House in Grand Marais, where you get together and you come and you learn how to build a canoe, or you go fly fishing, or you learn how to whittle a flute out of wood, and just you tie all of these things in, which became my aha moment about connecting people to the land and the history, and how do we preserve some of that Scandinavian, heritage and the Métis and history out there. And so she came over and we started meeting with her and Dave Pockard and Mary Stamen, and who's got her doctorate in education, and so she's been quite a catalyst in helping us kind of move some programming forward in that area. And then, of course, the Pembina Gorge Foundation really acts like a catalyst, develop programming, infrastructure, and partners and funds. So that's kind of what it looks like. I just wanted to map it out a little bit for you so you could see, what we're looking at. So this year for skiing, we were looking at 492,000, that would have been with 6,000 people coming to Frost Fair. Mountain biking, possibly 200. We're not going to get that this summer because we're just going to be doing the next phase of the trail, so we really won't go into a full season of the mountain biking until the year after. And then events. The food and beverage, so we've got the Howard Hangar, and that's open Friday and Saturday nights. We had to get some income going, so we started a grill and bar. I'm not really sure that was the smart thing to do, but I think it was the best thing to do so people could come out to Frost Fair and they could stay connected with progress. And then fundraising. The fundraising program will look probably like $125,000 a year that we'll have to raise through events, direct mail, membership. Major gifts will all go towards the capital. We have about a whole lot of capital needs, and then grants that we try to work with. So the amphitheater, I'll just buzz through real quick because I know I want to be quick here, but this has been our few musicals that we did. So we started the first season in 2017 with 4,200, 2018 up to 4,800 people, 2019 up to 5,200. And it's about 210,000 with annual revenue. That included some concerts that we had and some Oktoberfest Scandinavian Days and some Encore Youth Camp. But we really need to build an internship program, and we don't have overnight accommodations. We need to get the students connected, and I think that's kind of the way the Medora model works. You come out, you volunteer, and you're out there for 6 weeks or whatever, and you stay over and you learn something, and they get help with their program. And then we need the theater seats 425 people, but it's really dated. It's really beautiful. I mean, it's like the best experience in the whole world to come and sit out there and watch a play. You're just transported back in time to whatever era is kind of they're going on. They did a church one, the Smoke on the Mountain. It was just hilarious. And you're sitting out there, and the wildlife is there, and there's a little breeze, and it's just one of the best experiences that you can probably get. Skiing and boarding. So really the big deal for skiing and boarding, historically, the Johnsons had about 8 to 20,000 at their height visit for skiing. 80% of the market comes from Canada, and we're in a 1.2 million people 2-hour radius. So we're the only place in North Dakota that has access to that many people so close. So we really can soup this up. We're about 330-foot vertical. Longest run is half a mile. Revenue, of course, is $492. We're not going to quite make it this year. Kind of got a little bit later start and we've got a great leadership team. The good news is the experience out there is phenomenal. People are smiling and happy, and they're fitting in, which is what we wanted to see happen. We had a lot of equipment needs, and I don't know if any of are you guys familiar? Did you follow Frost Fire story at all? Yay, no. Okay, well, we had some challenges. So we got into the buy and into the season, and we found out from an engineer there was the chairlift that was there had tipped in a windstorm. And so we were working with an engineer, Howard, who's about 80, and he's fabulous. And he said, Kristi, you're going to have to go to chairlift school. I'm like, no, I'm drawing the line. I'm not going to chairlift school. No way. So I went to Wisconsin and went to chairlift school. And when I got there, it was August of 2017, and I said, Howard, I can't sleep. I can't sleep with this chairlift. I'm worried people are going to die. They're going to fall off and die. And then I remembered my dream from, 7th grade. I thought, this is crazy. This is such a foreshadowing because I feel like I'm falling off the chair for like a year. It was so stressful. We had gotten a grant, and the chairlift company signed on board with us, knowing we had this grant. It was like $300,000 maybe, or a little bit less. And that was in March of 2018. And we signed the contract, and then we found out we really couldn't get the grant unless we wanted to give the nonprofit to a quasi-political organization. The board said, no way. I'm like, okay, great, here I go again. So we started on a journey with the Outdoor Heritage Fund and got into the middle of a political football game, which was sort of horrible for everybody. But we're all friends, and it's okay. It's just that we had 7 votes out of 12 in May to get, I think it was a $1.3 million grant, and somebody changed their mind in 15 minutes, so we lost the grant. So we just thought, oh, now what, Well, we were working with the governor's office and the attorney general and the agriculture commissioner, and a couple of them had even been out to Frostfire. So they said, well, we're going to help you. We believe that we should, have some support out here. Well, what they did was they went to the Industrial Commission, and the Industrial Commission then sent it back to the committee and said, you'll just have another grant round. So we applied for another grant, and we asked for less this time because we'd raised some money and we were making progress, but we really needed cash. We just didn't have the cash flow. We needed cash. So we presented in August, and they said, well, where are you at in the process? I said, well, the helicopter's coming. They're flying in. It's just going to be great. Well, you don't even qualify then. Oh, no. So off we go again. Anyway, so we just kind of continued down the route with trying to figure out what are we going to do and raise a little bit more money. And the mountain bike terrain park, just celebrated our successes because we had to remember we're having all these huge successes. I mean, there was times where the board members wanted to quit, and I wanted to quit, and we're lifting each other up and just trying to hold on to get through this really hard time because we knew it was so worthy. So that's what we did. And this is a little bit about the Kano School, and it really was inspired by Ann Nelson, who died in 9/11, and she was born in Stanley, North Dakota, and her dad and her were big ski gurus, and she had this bucket list that her mom found on her computer years after she died, the top 100 things she wanted to do, and one of them was helicopter ski with her dad. And anyway, that didn't happen, but her dad kind of got involved and helped us kind of figure out some of the instructor stuff with skiing and that kind of thing. Side note, her birthday was May 17th, 71, and mine's May 17th, 70, and Judith's was May 17th. So we're like, oh, here's another thread of connectability. But the hospitality piece, obviously, so we've got a lot of work to do. You can see like there's a barn, and on there's all this kind of hodgepodge that was built on as they could afford to do it, and it has such a neat appeal to it. And so we do have to deal with some issues, and so we're going to start master planning right now, and we need overnight accommodations. So we've got some vision stuff. We have to remodel and do ADA compliance. We'll assist the Parks and Rec with a campground and interpretive center if we can. And then just to build the program needs, we have huge infrastructure needs for snowmaking and garage and storage. So here's a little bit about what the numbers sort of look like. So we started the campaign and it was 3.1 million. And it really got to 10 really quick. I thought that's too overwhelming. People just can't compartmentalize the different, all the pieces. So we backed her up then and went to phase 1. So that's 4.5. These are what we have really left to address. So we've got, multi-million dollars worth of investment that can go in here. And that's not even including what private people could probably come out there and do. So we raised, initially we got $387,000 in CDBG funds, and we had some loans that we took out. $750,000 we got in a Gorge preservation grant through the last legislative session, which was a lifesaver. And then a $700,000 anonymous matching gift, which was meant to stimulate people locally to get on board. So in all in all, we're about 75%. Individuals, business, and then government is about 1.1. And one last story, the Gorge Preservation Grant, we we're waiting to get that. We knew in May we had it, so we had to go through these hoops to get it. And I got a phone call from Senator Holmberg had helped us, and Senator Kroon from Grand Forks, and David Munson. I mean, you can just see how this kind of came together, and they were able to get this passed for a gorge preservation grant. And anyway, I got this call on a Friday. I thought my best friend died. I mean, I just fell to pieces. They said, well, you really can't use that for the chairlift. And I said, well, what? Well, and the Attorney General had to go back and review all of the discussion, and he found a loophole that there was no way that we had an emergency clause in it, and it was interpreted between like May and June we'd have to spend those funds, and he found an emergency clause. He spent the weekend pedaling through there and ruled that we would qualify. So by Monday, I was feeling a lot better. But so that's really the ins and outs of the Frost Fire. Here are some partners that were listed that helped us get going, and they continue to be great partners. I mean, Rendezvous Region, and from Grand Forks to Langdon and Devil's Lake and Cavalier, Pembina County, all of these people got together and really helped out and helped us get startup funding. There was no money to pay me, so I just kind of financed. When I started, I believed in this project. I really felt I knew we could do it. So we've been working on it. So that's it. Oh.
Thank you, Kristi. Why don't we do some questions and answers?
Am I on the hot seat?
And we've got Kate running mic here. I actually saw some of the stress that she was just talking about firsthand. I think I just kind of come on the board, and it was literally the chairlift company was going to come and take it back.
They were going to take it back.
I mean, it was all of that effort to get that chair put up, and then they were going to come and take it back. And it was days probably. I mean, it was crazy.
They were sort of flexing that all along, but they kind of made the decision with us. I mean, they went along with us knowing that we thought we had this funding and that funding, and they were on all of, we were actually really blessed because it takes 9 months to build a chairlift, and we would have been delayed even further, and for some reason, we got there. Right now, we're about 50,000 away from being debt-free, so with our challenge match, and so we're set up pretty good to move forward, but it was hit and miss. I mean, can you imagine if they were going to take away that chairlift? And it was like a really bad memory when I saw that sitting there in the lonesome and the cold, and like there's nothing around it. And I thought, this is really a bad memory because people would be like, you've got that big chairlift out there, why isn't it going? Don't have any money for electricity. We can't get the key.
Kate?
Could you just orient us South Central North Dakotans to where it's at? Like how far away from, I know you're 98 miles from Winnipeg. But from some of those other areas in North Dakota, what's the drive time from Devil's Lake, Grand Forks to get up to your location?
Yeah, Devil's Lake is like 90 miles, I think. And for Grand Forks, I live in Grand Forks, and I just hook on the interstate. I turn down like I'm going to go to Cavalier, and it takes me an hour and 40 minutes at most. It's a real easy drive. 100 miles. So it's it's just like 7 miles from Walhalla, north of Walhalla, and just a few miles away from the Canadian border.
Are the Canadians nice to you? I mean, when they come, they're really nice people. So, I mean,
They are.
They're dropping some cash?
Yeah, they are. Yeah. No, I think there's a lot of opportunity. It really mattered to get this going for the community, not just for the youth that really deserve having something to do. That Frost Fire, in my mind, should be a boys and girls club for kids. Everybody in the region should be able to come and ski there, for free. I'd like to see a $5 million endowment that funds that, because I think that, there's this huge opportunity that. But second of all, it feeds so many families. I mean, we're at 12, 15, I think, FTEs, and we need more and to build more, capacity to build more programming. And I think, that money turns around. And I know, like the North House model that we're talking about for Kano, they have a $10 million economic impact on their region. So.
Dawn.
Thanks so much for being here, Kristi, and taking the drive out here. I want to congratulate you, or say just give all my thanks to you for your tenacity.
Oh, thanks.
Because this roller coaster you've been on for the past 6 years, I mean, I got a little motion sick with the Evan video, but this roller coaster is incredible, and I can't believe that you have had the stamina and the tenacity to continue this. And great job,
you.
just absolutely fantastic.
Oh, thank you so much. It was so many people, though, that, I mean, all we did was build the network and pull people in and make that pitch. We were relentless. But Jim Holdman got some swear words sometimes, and he got some woohoos, and so there was, I just felt like it was a bigger purpose and just had to follow the passion.
And I also want to give a shout out to Mike Dury, a Mandan kid.
Yeah.
I'm a Mandan kid, so I know Mike.
That's right.
He's a great guy.
He's Mandan.
But so great job. This is a beautiful area. I've not been, but I'd love to be there.
Come on up. Yeah, we'd love to have you.
Kind of a side note too is what this area is doing for the Walhalla area. My wife grew up in Walhalla, and that's one of these farming communities that is less than half the size it was when she was in high school there. And I think they've got this wonderful natural resource, and we're starting to see that impact. And I really think I have high hopes for that whole area now, simply because of what's happening on it at Frostfire and Pembina Gorge. Question? Yes.
Hey, Kristi. I had no idea this was in our state. I grew up in Bismarck, moved to Tennessee, and just came back about a year ago. And so it's exciting. I definitely want to make my way up there. You talked about how in 2016, the group, there were no real experts in that group. So did you model this idea after something that you had seen? I know it's been around for a while, but was there kind of this championing?
Detroit Mountain, had they were privately owned, and then they had closed. And between when they closed, there was 10 years into when they opened, and they opened with a nonprofit model. So we looked a little bit at that. When they first applied for their 501c3, they were denied. And part of the reason why I think we weren't is we set up to act like a community foundation. That was my experience, and I could just see the value of getting those philanthropic funds in there. And then if this became a well-oiled wheel, that like there's a bar in town in Grand Forks Southgate that is tied to a nonprofit charity, and I thought if they can do it, why can't we? And then how do we figure out, because no one had enough capital to do it themselves. We looked at the Medora model, we looked, but we just really couldn't find anything. And I think so the people that we picked to be on the board were leaders with a lot of capacity in their own ways. So we really, developed a matrix, and we were very selective on kind of who we targeted and who we went after to make sure that we were covered, because it's been painful. I mean, it's been, for being on a volunteer board, they sure gave a lot, with a lot of sweat equity has gone into this from a whole lot of people. Yeah.
I want to ask another question too. So I know, like over in Medora and the Madahe Trail, people say you just got to come out and experience it, and then that one time will keep you coming back for a lifetime. So what would be your pitch for people to come out? When is the perfect time to come out, and what should we experience?
It depends what you're looking for, but in the winter, the skiing, and there's really the skiing and the snowboarding, and now we're working on snowshoeing, and we're going to work on cross-country trails. So it's just come any point. There's a lot of lookout points, there's a lot of trails. Go to the website, so go to Frostfire Park and check out the parks and recs as well, and make sure trails are open, because one thing that we are nervous about is that ground is real sticky, out there. If it gets wet, trails get ruined really fast. And I know Madahe has kind of this, how do we manage all these trails? And so North Dakota Parks is really trying to figure that out so that we can be open. So lots of things to do. We just hired our communications person in December, and so we're starting to kind of figure out more of our branding, and you'll see more communication.
I think maybe a 1 million cups Bismarck Van field trip is probably in order.
Yeah, we would host you.
Yeah, Zotnik's bringing the snacks, someone's driving, let's go. Let's just load up the van.
You know what we do? We have tour buses that come out for the theater, and the theater's so fun. I mean, you can have a buffet, and you really feel like you're walking back into the 60s or the 70s, and it's just so much fun. So just get ready to feel, if you have a hard time finding joy in your life, get back into nature. I'm serious. Get back into nature, that natural environment, and when you step back into an era like for the theater, you realize what joy feels like again. you're free to feel joy. And I think that people are experiencing that out there right now with skiing as well.
My name is Mike, and over the last few years, I enmeshed myself in a lot of first-time meetings. At one time, 1 Million Cups was one of them, and I come fairly frequently. But just this last week, my family's become part of the NISHU Archery Club.
Oh, yeah.
And they're organizing an event at Huff for the first time. And they're talking about expanding type of thing because they have a very large representation in their archery clubs. And when you mentioned the hunting, they also have a connection with Range at Full Draw, which is a multi-state camp for people with archery and things. Those might be some things that you can offer when you mention the hunting areas. They're trying to expand some of their reach also. I can't speak for them, but just some thoughts.
I think we'd love to. I mean, I've talked to a couple archery people that were connected with Grand Forks and Fargo, and there's certainly land there. And so it really is developing the program. We're working with a couple of people to try to figure out how we can build some like camp facilities so that we can do overnight camps for kids and groups like that, Boy Scout, Girl Scout, archery, youth. And so that really is one of the next biggest things that we have on our radar is how to make that happen so we can, one of the challenges right now still is coming out there and finding a place to stay. You know, so we've got some local hotels and things like that, but not for groups. So I like that thought, and you should reach out to me because we should push them a little bit more to get the archery guys out there.
If anybody wants to invest in a hotel out
Right.
there, see us afterwards.
Or give. Not that we're pitching.
You talked a little bit about, actually quite a bit about some of the strategic partnerships and relationships. Maybe you could expand on that a little bit. There are a lot of great relationships close to the park, you know, a lot of your donors and such, but you've also had to reach out to the state and to Parks and Rec and to a lot of those. Talk a little bit about creating those and nurturing those, and what does that look like in the future?
You know, North Dakota tourism, I mean, I sometimes I look at people and I can just say, oh gosh, if you didn't hold us up then, we would have whittled, you know, and Sarah Coleman has just been amazing cheerleader for us and a voice to the governor's fund. I mean, everybody thought, you're just a chairlift. Now why are you here? You know, trying to get money for, you know, something else. And I'm like, this is big, this is so big. And, you know, try to get that carried across. And so tourism has been huge. Commerce Department, you know, with the Devil's Lake, North County Planning Council, and then Red River Regional Council, helping to find us funding, federal funding, and you know, loans, and so we can kind of get through. And Don Mant and I'm just drawing a blank, Devil's Lake, but they just have been so. I mean, just we couldn't have done it without these people, and in commerce in Bismarck, you know. They've sat around at the table with us when we learned that we weren't going to get funding and cried with us because they just knew, you know, how raw things were. So, and then of course North Dakota Parks and Rec. I mean, they are probably the impetus of why the people came on the board. Okay, if North Dakota Parks and Rec is there's some stability. There is some vision there with the recreation, huge vision with that recreation. We can do it, and we can be that private push, you know, to kind of funding over here and develop programming. So there's a lot, and I hope I'm not missing anybody, but there's just...
Two things. One, you did a very North Dakota thing when Don was like, good job, and you're like, oh, don't give me a compliment. It's other people.
Thank you, by the way. That was really nice.
What is a magic carpet? I saw in your thing that you needed money for a magic carpet. I was assuming it's not a real...
Yeah, no, the magic carpet is actually, and the rubber on it is actually made in a business in Walhalla. So it's you know, it's like a walkway.
A rubber moving sidewalk.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so for kids, like so it's on the bunny hill and the tubing hill, and so you get on it and it moves you, so you don't have to walk up the hill. You know, they had tow ropes in the day, and maybe some of that, Dane, and you know, and then chairlifts, and the chairlift that was out there was a 1950s riblet, and when I talked to different engineers, I talked like 3 different engineers, and the engineer said, it's like you're driving around a 1950s Studebaker that's never been maintained. So,
Okay, well, at least I know what a magic
Yeah.
carpet is in the ski
so
world.
come out and ride the magic carpet if you
Okay.
want to do anything. And
That might be a good thing with legalized marijuana is coming up too. So anything you can do to tie in, get some folks up there.
there you go.
Well, Kristi, I think we always like to ask the same last question of our speakers, and I will let Kate ask that for us.
Well, Kristi, besides our field trip that we're going to be taking, Steve, you got those snacks picked out? All right, he's ready. We always ask the same last question at 1 Million Cups Bismarck Mandan. What can we do, the people here in our community, do to help you succeed at Frostfire Park?
See the vision and scale it to Medora with different types of things, recreation, we got musical, all of those possibilities out there. It's like there's a huge opportunity for North Dakota to be a #1 tourism destination place. We've got a lot of really cool things. So see the vision. If you don't see it, just really try, and then support us and follow us and push out and come and visit. So really, it is. And if you know people who want to do legacy giving, we've got a lot of legacies, to put together out there. This is a North Dakota Legacy Project, and who wouldn't do this? I mean, it's really cool.
All right, Kristi, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity.
If anybody out there is thinking, man, I want to get up on stage, I know there's one of them out here. I roped him in. Go out to 1millioncups.com, and there is an apply to present link that you can click, and you too can be up on the stage sharing your story. Meantime, one more shout out to